What is up, crypto hackers? Welcome back to another episode of Hack Crypto, where we hack a cryptocurrency, blockchain, and NFT education. If you guys are brand new here, we talk about everything around NFTs, crypto projects, and now the metaverse. Specifically, I've been diving deep into this over the past 2 years, and it has been a wild ride. Now, one of the most important things that I want to talk about in this episode is what Web3 is. It's by far and away the biggest question and the most common question I get all the time. And I wanted to walk through some of the progression there. And I also wanted to talk about this current launch that I'm working on and just to give you guys an update on that front. So first of all, what is Web3? Why is it so important? Why is everybody talking about it? Why is Mark Zuckerberg talking about the metaverse and memes of him being spread all throughout the internet, all through my feed? Great question. Web 1 was your AOL that launched and you had a static website set up. You could consume information. You could sit there, you could read through an article, you could kind of browse through different articles and things like that. And it was a way to go through like a magazine on the internet. Now, Web 2 was where people could begin to create content that you consumed. And this is where the shift of a lot of that data went to a couple very large companies like a Google or a Facebook, where everybody's creating content. People are consuming it on one end, people are creating it. And these big giant companies like YouTube, Google, and all these different organizations are vacuuming up all of that data and monetizing that. Now, in walks Web3. Now, this is a term that's really been popular over the past year or so. I think it's very, very new. I don't remember when I first heard it, but ultimately that's what crypto has moved into is Web3 because it's more consumable. It's more, easy to understand for the masses because you can kind of hear the progression there of the internet and how things took hold with websites and everything like that. So Web3 is what crypto really kind of was generally referred to as. But now with Web3 and NFTs, it's really emphasizing the ownership of assets that take place on the web. Now with Web 2, I own this video file that I'm creating right now, but when I publish it, it is not owned by me. That is being put out by these large organizations, like I mentioned before, and they are able to monetize that however they see fit. Now with Web3, if this was a video going out on a Web3 platform of some kind, it would be owned by me on the blockchain, and I would be getting royalties if this was bought and sold on different markets, but I would fully own that and have royalties on that. And this sense of ownership is really what I try to drive home with Web3, is that unlike Web 2, where it was owned by, let's say, a dozen large companies that are monetizing their user base, it is owned by the users themselves. So it's a decentralization movement. And when I mention decentralization, it's important to know that with crypto, or Bitcoin and Ethereum and things like that, the different crypto tokens and crypto assets, as all these people are calling different buzzwords for virtually the same thing. These are always on a spectrum of decentralization. Bitcoin is the furthest in the decentralization spectrum, not only because it's all spread out, like all the Ethereum maxis out there are going to be like, oh no, man, it's not decentralized. The founder of it is anonymous and it's gone. Like the founder of it is vanished. So therefore, there is no way to go after a creator of something and shut that down. It is fully decentralized out on that end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, you have what's been proven as some more centralized things like a Solana, for example, or a Tron, where basically if 10, 15 people around the world or organizations that have a node all of a sudden vanish or get thrown into a prison or something like that, those go offline, the whole network goes down. Go further past that into the centralization world, you get into these kind of Web 2 companies where everything is centralized and it's just like a currency that operates on the platform, and it's, no ownership taking place there. All custodied and owned by that central power there. Now, when you look at the spectrum in the metaverse, this is a question that I get a lot. Like, okay, what's Web3? I describe that. And then people say, okay, what's the metaverse and how do those overlap? Now, with the metaverse, you have something like Meta. Mr. Zuckerberg came out and said, I'm rebranding Facebook to Meta. Metaverse is the future. And he's starting to just really try and claim a lot of the metaverse concepts. And on the other end, you have something like a Sandbox, you have something like a CryptoVoxels, you have something like a Decentraland, you have these projects that are actually being owned and run and governed by the creators, the people that are building within these virtual worlds, own the NFTs, and they are contributing to that in-game and that in-world economy. So I look at it as those two being kind of the pillars here. Between there's all sorts of worlds that are coming out, all these different virtual worlds visualizing on the Ethereum blockchain and different chains. But ultimately, just keep in mind, there is a spectrum of decentralization. I am an advocate for the decentralized metaverse. I think that these are going to be very big camps over the next 10 years, 20 years. People are going to be advocating for this because they've seen what the Meta/Facebook have done to the internet as it stands today. Web2 company jumping into what they would like to think is a decentralized Web3 world, but in reality, it's just jumping all the way to the end of the centralized spectrum of the metaverse. What the metaverse is around the decentralized virtual world and virtual experiences that people can have where they own assets within there. The economy's run by the creators through NFTs, and it's governed by the creators through tokens and NFTs and everything. That is what the future decentralized metaverse is. And I always, over the past probably 8 or 9 months, have just been banging the gong all about, because it's a unified front. And there's a lot of these different silos, different camps of these different decentralized blockchains that are building these decentralized metaverses. But everybody should be working together on this end of the spectrum so that the Web2 centralized end of the spectrum doesn't just take over that word and the concept of the metaverse, this virtual experience where we can all feel each other's presence, being in each other's presence while we're interacting, doing everything you can do in the physical world, in the virtual world. Now, digital goods. What is a digital good? A digital good is virtually anything from a follower on Instagram all the way to, something that you would use in a video game like a skin in your Fortnite game. Now, what I really have gotten a lot of questions around over the past month specifically has been around the value of these digital goods relative to physical goods. Why are digital goods worth anything? I get that question specifically from boomers, older generations. They say, why would somebody pay $400,000 for this Bored Ape image? That makes no sense. But this is a shift that's happening in society where Gen Z is spending 8 hours a day on the internet. 8 hours. So when a whole generation is spending that much time on average on the internet, communicating with each other, on apps, on their phones, transacting, doing everything for 8 hours a day, what you have is one generation that's spending, call it an hour, the boomers, I don't know what the average is, and then another generation that's spending 8 hours. As that generation gets older and that gap shrinks a little bit between the amount of people that are online all day and the majority are then online for longer than 8 hours a day, you have a fundamental paradigm shift in where value is. And if all the value, all your job, all your income, everything is spent on digital goods and services, then that is where society focuses its efforts. That is where businesses start. That is where everyone goes. And the moment that that shift happens, where the majority of the workforce is gaining their incomes from digital goods and digital assets that are transacting, that is when that tipping point happens, and people then begin to associate digital goods as more valuable than physical goods. Very uncomfortable topic for many. And I enjoy talking about this stuff because I find it fascinating that digital goods are still something that people undervalue. and yet they're on Instagram or Facebook and they're messaging with people and even transacting in digital goods, and they just don't see the value in them. So it's really fascinating to me, and NFTs are the beginning piece to that. Now, Mark Cuban said something really clever and smart recently about comparing 1993, 1995 websites to Bored Apes and these kind of early static NFTs. Now, this is a really great comparison because Web 1, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, started with these static read-only concepts. And then with NFTs, we were given these static kind of read-only, view-only NFTs. Now, if you put these two on the same track, websites got pretty complex. Look at what you're viewing this on, and this is an incredible shift in where we started at static read-only all the way to the most dynamic websites you can ever imagine that exist today because innovation moves so quickly. Same with NFTs. We started as these static art images, and in the future, 20 years from now, NFTs are going to be operating in the background and things are going to be crazy innovative, similar to how websites are crazy nowadays. Things are going to be built on the technology, and that shift is going to happen eventually. That leads me to the finale here where I talk about Sandstorm, the company that I founded last year. Very excited about all the things that are going on there. I did a demo day about a month and a half ago. Really fun to be in the Sanctor Capital class. Great class of projects, including like Known Origin. And it was a really great time to get to know some of the mentors there and the team there. So that is going to be something that I focus a lot on over the next few months here on the channel. When I get the chance, when you guys don't see videos coming out frequently, it's because I'm building this company and I love startups. I sold my previous one to the founder of PayPal, as many of you know, but this one is something special. This one is basically where brands and builders are going to connect and learn about the metaverse. And I think that this is the very, very early days of the decentralized metaverse I was talking about before. So super bullish on it, very excited to be building in this space. And I'm going to be giving you guys a lot more information over the next few months. So definitely check the link in the description to join the Discord. That's where everything's going down on Sandstorm. We have an amazing team. We got a great roadmap, and I'm super bullish on the decentralized metaverse, Sandbox, Decentraland, a lot of these upcoming metaverses coming out. And that is it for this video. I hope it helped you guys answer some questions about Web3, also Web 2 and Web 1. And then also we talked about the decentralized kind of future of what the metaverse looks like and what the metaverse is. So I hope this helped somebody out there. Slap a like if you liked this. Share this with somebody that's asked you this question before. And I will see you guys on the next episode of Hack Crypto.